And welcome to this edition of ACAP Today for the week of April 26, 2021. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's program, we're going to catch up with some Aroostook County leaders about the latest in the COVID-19 vaccine battle. Not only the vaccine battle, but we're going to talk about quarantine social supports, which are available to individuals who are asked to quarantine or isolate because of a potential or actual exposure to COVID-19. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the efforts to get more shots into arms and how the communication effort is rolling out across Aroostook County. We're going to do all of that with Darren Woods, Stacey Boucher, and Jamie Chandler in just a little bit. But before we get to that, as we do always at this point in the broadcast, we're going to bring to you the news and information that you can use. And as we explained last week, our lobbies in Presque Isle and Houlton at our 771 Main Street Presque Isle facility near Walmart and our 91 Military Street facility in Houlton are now open to the public. We still have restricted access to other parts of the building, but we are accepting walk-in traffic at both the Presque Isle and Houlton administrative facilities. Our early care and education centers, of course, do remain closed to the public at this time until further COVID-19 guidance related to facilities where early care and education activities happen is provided by the state of Maine. But we look forward to welcoming you into our lobbies in Presque Isle and Houlton again. We also want to let you know that May, which starts later this week, this coming Saturday, as a matter of fact, is Community Action Month. And at their meeting last week, the Aroostook County Commissioners officially declared May Community Action Month here in Aroostook County, and recognizing the region-wide efforts of our agency while doing so. Here at the meeting, Commissioner Paul Underwood at the far end of the table reads the proclamation, while the other commissioners and Sheriff Sean Gillen, County Administrator Ryan Pelletier, and Executive Assistant Cheryl Campbell listen on. Thank you to the County Commissioners for acknowledging our Community Action Month designation and the work that we do here in Aroostook County. We appreciate your partnership. Katahdin Trust, we are very pleased to say, has generously supported the efforts of ACAP by providing support for our facility and the building modifications at our 771 Main Street facility in particular. We thank the team from Katahdin Trust for this generous gift that will support the building modifications that will allow us to more comprehensively serve customers at this facility in Presque Isle. Again, thank you to our friends at Katahdin Trust for their confidence and their support of our organization. We also want to acknowledge that coming up here on Monday, May 10th, so just in a couple of weeks now, Cary Medical Center, the Aroostook County Action Program, the Drug Free Aroostook Partnership, as well as the Power of Prevention will all be presenting a special film, a showing of the film If They Had Known. It's a documentary film that shares the story of Clay Soper's tragic accidental death from mixing prescription drugs with alcohol. A very timely message in these days. The activity will be offered at 6 p.m. and it will be via Zoom, again on Monday, May 10th. If you would like to get the link, please do give a call to either Kim Parent at 540-3659 or Robin Thurston here at ACAP. Robin can be reached at 498-9602. Their email addresses are also both on the screen. Once you are registered, you will receive an email confirmation with a Zoom link. The Emergency Rental Relief Program is still accepting applications. So the income guidelines for households are there on your screen. Essentially, if you've found that you've had additional expenses as a result of the pandemic, so for example, many have seen a spike in the cost of groceries or whatever, and you are a renter, you should reach out to us if you fall within these income guidelines or even slightly above. There may be some expenses that we're able to deduct. Fill out an application so that we can start the conversation. The application can be found through our website or at mainehousing.org/COVID-rent. And do consider filling out that application, and we will follow up with you in a couple weeks' time. We do have a backlog at this point of applications for the program, but it also will help with utilities as well as rent and for more than 1 month as needed. So please do give us a call, 764-3721. If you cannot register online, otherwise just register online and we will get in touch with you when it's your application that's being processed. The Cinderella Project of Aroostook, we talked about that, happened at the Aroostook Center Mall last Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And we are so pleased at the success of that. Over 75 students from across Aroostook County found prom dresses over the 3 days of the extravaganza at the mall. We really are looking forward to bringing back this project next year under hopefully non-COVID circumstances when folks can go to the mall to be able to pick out a dress without having to worry about scheduling an appointment. So we thank our partners, Waldo Community Action Partnership, for generously providing the dresses, for the number of community members who also donated dresses to the cause, the Aroostook Center Mall for hosting us, and Aid for Kids for being a wonderful partner, as well as the United Way of Aroostook, all of which partnered with us to make this project possible. We are also conducting a community survey at this time. We want to understand who out there in Aroostook County is receiving the COVID-19 vaccination and what obstacles might be preventing others from receiving the vaccination. The data that will be gathered will guide efforts to improve access to local resources and to develop additional tools to create healthier communities. We really would appreciate your help in taking this local survey and to share it with others. It can be found at the website there. You can also find it through ACAP's Facebook page and on our website. So please do consider taking this community survey and helping us assess what needs to be done to help get the rest of Aroostook County vaccinated. The Home Energy Assistance Program, you'll see a picture a little later on in the broadcast that indicates that we're in a really good spot in terms of where we're at with certifying applications for this year. But I will tell you that we are accepting appointments, in some cases same-day appointments. So please give us a call at 768-3053 to schedule a Home Energy Assistance Program appointment if you have not had one since August of last year and have not obviously had one in this heating season. This is a great time to get home energy assistance as a result of the fact that you will have a balance on your account leading into the next heating season for up to 18 months. So it's a great time to get a quick appointment and hopefully get a quick benefit if you are eligible. We are hosting another Homebuyer Education class. It's scheduled for this coming Saturday, the 1st of May. It's an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. virtual class offered via Zoom and will open up a world of opportunities in terms of good incentives for you to purchase your first home if you're looking to purchase your first home, including some great incentives in regards to closing costs and opportunities for borrowing at very low interest rates. Give Greg Doak a call, 554-4175 or gdoak@acap-me.org if you'd like to register for this Saturday's upcoming class. There are still some slots available, and again, it will all be held virtually, so Greg will send you a link to connect in that day. More information is also available on our website. A special enrollment period for the healthcare marketplace, about 3 weeks left on that. We're going through the 15th of May with that, healthcare.gov. The important thing to note is that if you are already receiving health insurance through the open marketplace and have not recently looked at options there or have sat down with Stan Targonski, at least virtually or over the phone, about the health insurance marketplace, there are new incentives, new tax credits that started on April 1st that will likely mean that you will get a better rate on your health insurance. So if you are already in, contact us and we would be happy to navigate that with you and find you what hopefully will be a better rate. If you aren't and you are uninsured right now for whatever reason, this is a great time to get into the health insurance marketplace. Stan Targonski is reachable at 554-4158. April is a great month to be the community cupboard sponsor, and we thank State Farm Harvell Insurance Agency for being our sponsor of the month. The funds that you have provided have allowed us to purchase non-perishable food items to stock the cupboards of the shelf and keep it full this month of April. So thank you to the State Farm Harvell Insurance Agency. We, speaking of our community cupboard, right next to our community cupboard is the community closet, which has been expanded to better serve the community. There are racks of clothing, both in an enclosed area, and now that the weather is getting a little bit better, we have put some clothing outside underneath the portico of the facility at 771 Main Street that ACAP owns near Walmart. Please do stop by if you are in need of clothing of any kind during these times, or if you would like to drop off clothing, you can also do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week outside of the ACAP facility in the community closet area. Maine's Workforce Collaborative, I've been talking about these workshops, and they are still going on and periodically held virtually across the state of Maine. If you would like to get some information on any of the things that you're seeing there on your screen, give us a call here at ACAP. We would be happy to send you the link to participate in any of these courses, any of these upcoming courses, which our own workforce development team and others from across the state help to host. COVID vaccination is available in Maine for anyone above the age of 16. We're going to talk with our guests about that in just a little bit, but appointment availability varies and it does change rapidly. If you need assistance registering for a vaccine appointment, if you're unable to go online and do that with your local healthcare provider, and we can help you with that over the phone if you're under the age of 60. If you're over the age of 60, we encourage you to call the Area Agency on Aging, the Aroostook Agency on Aging. If you want to get help getting your vaccine appointment, call us at 764-3721 here at ACAP, and we will provide that assistance as well. And speaking of getting vaccinated, these are some of our friendly ACAP faces showing you that they've done their deed and they've gotten vaccinated, from COO Jamie Chandler to tobacco educator, community educator Elaine Sipe, to our own executive assistant Gloria Duncan, to our workforce development and Home Energy Assistance Program Coordinator Erin Benson, to our eligibility specialist and early care and enrollment great person Marcy Driscoll, who I miss tremendously because she's been working from home, and myself have all gotten our vaccine, as have others across the agency, and we encourage you to get your vaccine. And as we mentioned at the top of this week's edition of ACAP Today, we are joined this week by three guests who are going to talk about the latest battle on the COVID-19 front, both in terms of helping individuals who may be impacted by COVID-19 directly, but also quite literally helping to get shots in the arms and the importance of the messaging around getting shots in the arms. Those guests are Darren Woods, who's the director of the Aroostook Emergency Management Agency, Stacey Boucher, who's the Aroostook District Public Health Liaison, and Jamie Chandler, who is the Chief Operating Officer here at ACAP. Jamie, I'm going to begin with you because before we start talking about getting the shots into the arms, we still are seeing cases of COVID-19 here in Aroostook County, and as a result, people are being asked to quarantine and isolate. And so there are services available, and we want to remind folks about those. So why don't you talk about the quarantine social support services that are available to folks?
Absolutely. So we just want the community to know that if you are asked to isolate or quarantine due to COVID-19 positive result or exposure to an individual who has tested positive, that ACAP is available to assist with supports in order to help you to maintain your quarantine or isolation. And those supports can include food. So if you need food to help you to stay within your quarantine, we can help get, we've helped with people to get medications. We can assist with PPE and thermometers so that you can keep track of your health while you're in quarantine. And we also have connections to many other social service organizations in the area to help keep you connected to any services that you may need, whether it be unemployment services if you're not going to be able to maintain your income, or other type needs that you may have. And so you can certainly contact our office if you need a referral for that service, or there is an online form that is available on the ACAP website, as well as our social media page, Facebook and other social media pages, if you are interested or in need of a referral for that service.
And Jamie, just so folks understand, if they learn that they're being asked to isolate or quarantine on a Friday night at 5 o'clock, that doesn't mean that this service is not available to them, correct? There are people through DHHS that are waiting, standing by to take calls such as this, and we have staff that will be dispatched on weekends as well, correct?
Absolutely. So we have staff that are able to answer those calls 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And if a referral comes in during those hours, those referrals will come to our staff, and we will deploy a staff member to contact you. Depending upon what your request is, it's typically anywhere between 4 and 12 hours that staff will get back to you, depending upon your request and what it is that you're asking for.
Now, Darren Woods and Stacey Boucher, you two have been on the front lines of this from the very beginning, from when this was first declared a public health emergency and even before, and preparing for what anticipated to be one. Darren, I know that we were working with you and Stacey when we were setting up an emergency wellness shelter at Umpy, and you were working with healthcare organizations and others at getting PPE into Aroostook County. Talk about that breadth that led you now to working with the effort to help get shots into arms and all that EMA has done through the course of this pandemic.
So as far as pandemic planning, we've been doing it for about 15 years now. When we saw things coming in later part of 2019 and other parts of the world, the EMA community for counties, we started ramping up and preparing to assist the CDC where it's needed. We understand that we're all kind of short-staffed and we've got to back each other up and help one another through something like that. So we started leaning forward and starting bringing some assets early on to get ready for what we hoped wouldn't come. Then we worked closely with the CDC, who is the lead. They're the lead folks. We just kind of back them up with logistical support and planning support. So that's really been our role. And as things have progressed through, we've been helping to provide those logistics to get people the PPE equipment that they need and some information and adjust our planning efforts as we go. And then it just kind of seemed like a natural glide as Stacey and I were coordinating efforts in the county for us to create this planning committee for alternative healthcare sites, as well as starting the conversation of vaccinations. And things just evolved from there. The partners in healthcare across Aroostook County really just came together and became very cooperative. So it's really a benefit to us to be in Aroostook County with these great assets and great partners. Make it easy for us to help them and work through things, don't you think, Stacey?
I do. The way the public health infrastructure has pulled together at this time and at this present time, and then of course the months leading up to this, has been quite remarkable. Goodness knows that we are fortunate in Aroostook to have existing personal and professional relationships that help facilitate some of these conversations about planning and resource sharing, information sharing. And so this did really seem like a really good fit to hang a committee off of the Public Health Council. And we're blessed that Darren has agreed to chair this and then help, seamlessly knit together emergency preparedness and planning and public health. And I think we're really seeing the fruits of those labors and collaborations with everybody right now.
Stacey, I know that the work that is happening right now that you and Darren are doing is truly about partnerships and about and persistence and just that Aroostook County way of coming together. Talk about the collaboration that's happening, because we're seeing healthcare providers, behavioral health providers, social service agencies like ours, all at the table saying, "What can I do?" Is that the experience that you're seeing?
Almost certainly. And the buzzwords of late that it seems are pivot and adapt. And that's been kind of exactly what this group has done. It has evolved. It started out for, our circumstance of anticipating surge and what it was going to take to be able to pull together an alternate care site if the hospitals were beyond their capacity to handle people who are coming to them with COVID infection. And then we quickly realized, and rightfully so, that this was probably not our most immediate need, that once vaccine was made available, that we needed to come up with a plan for being able to distribute it equitably amongst all of our hospital providers, and then later on our FQHCs and our EMS and all of the other providers that were being allocated vaccine by Maine immunization program, that the needs were more immediate as far as identifying who was getting vaccine, who needed to get vaccine, where the shortfalls were, because right up until this point, we were dealing with vaccine, greater demand than supply when it came to vaccine. And so trying to identify who was most vulnerable and who fit the parameters for eligibility to get it, as we were facing difficult prioritization decisions. And so the group pivoted its focus at that point, and we just started having conversations. And we've been working with some of our pharmacy partners that I neglected to acknowledge earlier, who were instrumental in going into long-term care facilities and some of our assisted living facilities to reach some of the populations who were most at risk for COVID disease.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say for worse outcomes for COVID disease, not necessarily catching it. So
You mentioned that the work early on was about prioritizing vulnerable populations and making sure that we could get folks vaccinated. Where are we at in the sort of the tipping point on that? Are we at a point now, Stacey, where we're having the supply of vaccines be sufficient and the need to get shots into arms people to get the vaccine, or are we still at a point where we're in a prioritization situation and people aren't able to get them who want to get them?
I think we're kind of at a tipping point right now, where the supply still isn't quite where we would like, but we have gotten a lot of the folks who were either able to overcome barriers to come in or had a great desire to be vaccinated in order to protect themselves, in order to protect loved ones, in order to resume their business practices. And so those early adopters were very proactive in finding appointments or finding people to help them get to appointments. And so I think we're at a point now where our early adopters we've successfully reached. And it's those that have either obstacles to get to these appointments, obstacles making these appointments, childcare issues, work, there or even personal philosophies, fears, other hesitancies. So I think that we're at a point where we really need to start thinking ahead and identifying what exactly we can do to help folks overcome whatever it is that has impeded them from being able to schedule for vaccine, so that when we do have it, we can get it quickly into arms.
And I know that you're doing that, especially as it relates to messaging, and I want to come back to that in a minute, but I want to first go to both Darren and Jamie. Your respective organizations, ours in our case, Jamie, are used to dealing with challenges, with community crises, in your case, emergency. How has COVID-19 differentiated from emergencies that you helped manage through in the past, large-scale floods, fires, things of that nature? Darren, how has this been different?
Yeah, it's been very different. So I've been in emergency management field for 23 years, and this is definitely different. We knew that we would have to adjust some things, because we planned ahead for it. What we didn't realize was how it was going to separate us. So, for example, during a normal disaster emergency, I would have a full EOC operating, and it would be, I don't want to say easier, but more efficient for me to take the information, take the requests in, and then just turn to my room full of people and, appropriately assign tasks. Couldn't have a room full of people here because we don't have a huge facility. And so we had to adjust our techniques and the way that we do things to electronic. And so we're still operating as a group, but separate. And, it created some hurdles, especially at first, till everybody got used to that way of working. So it is definitely different. But I would like to say that, I think that we planned pretty well for this. It's one of those things that you pull out this plan that you developed off of a dream that you would dream for worst case scenario. I shouldn't say dream,
maybe nightmare.
About that nightmare of that worst case scenario. And when it started unfolding, I pulled the plan out and I had it next to me and I started ticking down through the list. And I'm like, wow, this happened almost exactly as we planned, which rarely happens that way. But the cooperations and the partnerships that we built beforehand, even the hospitals who each have their own administrative goals, they put that aside and realized this was for the greater good of all the Aroostook County citizens, and they just set their differences aside and got to work helping each other out. When, like Stacey said, when there was a need, for example, for something that popped up, a set of PPE or whatever, as things start unfolding, getting busier, they just leaned on each other and they were so quick to help each other out. The partnerships in Aroostook County are unprecedented for sure. They just aren't seeing that in other areas, and I just couldn't be more proud to work in this area.
Jamie, I think that it's true that we've seen that as well on the social services side, but how has this been different than other things that we've dealt with? We've dealt with economic downturn and challenges in this community before, but how is this challenge different for us?
Sure. I would just say that this challenge is different because we had to really adapt the way that we deliver services to the members of the community and how we work with our partners. Much like what Darren said around, having to figure out how to do this when you're not just down the hall from someone, or, how do you meet the needs of that customer who is cold in their home and they can't come in and meet face to face with our energy services team. And so it really our staff and our just our partners, we were able to quickly adapt to this new way of delivering services, which in some ways we've developed some interventions that we will probably continue that have been successful, and then others that we're really welcoming, bringing people back in and seeing people face to face and being able to work directly with the individuals that we serve and the partners that we work with. But Jason, I would definitely say that the adaptability of our staff and the ability to shift to meet those emerging needs within the community is probably the thing that sticks out for me most poignantly.
I think the other big challenge that's very different from anything any of us have faced in the past is the fact that it's a worldwide incident. We can't reach out of our district for help because they're in the same boat, and it's the longevity is also an issue. And so as administrators, as leaders of our programs, we find that even though we're totally getting pounded ourselves with workload and being tired and being, having a negative outlook, that we have to become cheerleaders and keep our employees' morale up because it's been going for so long and people are so stressed and really pressed for everything, and so we have to push that side of it as well, just to keep people up and moving in the right direction and keep them in a positive mind and all this negativity that's all around us every day.
Yeah, coming up for air is not really an option right now, so you just got to forge ahead. Stacey, one of the things that we left off last talking with you about that I want to pick back up on, and that all three of the organizations represented here are involved in, is that effort, that connection effort to help educate the community on the importance of vaccination, to help get, and then also to help connect more members of our community from an equity lens perspective, whether the challenges are transportation or rural, remote nature. So talk to me about those efforts and what the District Coordinating Council for Public Health is doing around that.
first, I think, is awareness raising of the resources and the partners in the community that offer those types of resources. Because we've certainly been focused on, Darren has been helping with PPE, and I'm grateful to have that so that I can focus on, contact tracing or whatever, it is I have to work on. And so we have become content experts in that. And so I think that the realization that perhaps we need to pull other agencies in, and make best use of their expertise. So like ACAP's obviously wonderful with your clients, you're wonderful with your social supports, you're wonderful with working with some of the populations that we've identified as being more vulnerable, who have difficulty paying, for groceries or finding people to deliver groceries if they're in quarantine. And so just being able to identify the content experts within our own backyard and bring them in, and so that everybody, we can have the collective brain power of everybody around to be able to make best use of the resources that exist out there. If we don't know about them, then our friends and partners will. And so ACAP has been an integral part of our vaccine preparedness committee, and more recently with taking the lead in our messaging work, and taking the lead in being able to identify and help build a survey as to what is causing some of these barriers. And so I don't know if I exactly answered your question, but I think that that's where we are right now as a public health council, as a preparedness committee, is just, do we have the right people at the table who can reach those who are most impacted at this point? And that would include like the Agency on Aging, obviously early on, because of their exceptional networking and existing relationships with older adults. And so just the realization that we are all here, for one common goal, and then just identifying if somebody else would be better able and suited to contribute to the overall discussion.
Yes, certainly the percentage of older adults in Aroostook County who were able to get vaccinated, many of them did so as a result of the outreach of the Agency on Aging and their established hotline to help those who may not have the ability to technologically schedule an appointment online, which was huge, and want to make sure we recognize that. Jamie, ACAP is engaged in the communication part, both here in Aroostook County, but also through our state network in terms of communication around the state. Talk about that effort a little bit. I know our colleague Sherry is doing a lot of that work and leading that work, but it really is also right down to our program level staff who are connecting with customers.
Absolutely. So as Jason indicated, we're working really hard to work with direct clients that we're working with, promoting the vaccine and making them aware of the locations around the county where they can sign up to receive the vaccination. We are doing a lot of promotion through our social media and traditional media as well. I know that the District Coordinating Council has developed a survey, and I know that we are doing a lot of work to promote that. We really want to ensure that anyone that is able to get the vaccine knows where they can go to get it. And like I said, we have the resources available to help get them connected. And of course, if anyone has a question on where their nearest location is, they can call our ACAP office and we will help to get them connected to the closest vaccine location to them. And statewide, we are working with MECAP and other part in the Maine CDC and partners across the state to ensure that vaccine messaging is getting out, not only out, but out to in I think we're printing our flyers in 32 different languages. And so, really addressing that equitable access component, because we want to be sure that there are no barriers, whether it's a transportation barrier or a language barrier. We want to make sure that we break down as many of those as possible to get as many Mainers vaccinated as possible.
Great. Darren, any thoughts about the vaccination messaging that's going out, and also where you see this heading? I mean, when you're used to dealing with an emergency, you sort of have a cycle of the emergency. Once the disaster itself is over, there's the other components to where do you see us in the life cycle of this emergency, and again, the public health component, messaging component.
So as far as the cycle of the emergency, I still say that we're kind of in the middle of it, but I'm optimistic that we're heading towards the end. So we're looking forward in our agencies, we're looking forward to the recovery piece of how we put things back together, how we put things back to normal. Doesn't mean that we're there yet, but we have to start planning for that so we have a smooth transition from one stage to the next. As far as messaging and whatnot, there's a group that's meeting once a week to put out some messaging to try to help with the hesitancy for getting vaccines. And Sherry from ACAP is doing a good job putting that together, putting together some surveys that will go out to the public that I think will capture some very beneficial information for us so that we can get the right information out and hopefully change some minds and get some people more motivated to get vaccinated. We aren't where we need to be yet, but I definitely think we're moving in the right direction.
So last words from each of you, and I'll go backwards. So I'll begin with you, Darren, where I just left off. What message do you want people to hear from you today as it relates to their role in getting us to the recovery side of this emergency?
So I'd say hold the line. We're not through this yet. I know it's tiring. I know people are ready to move on and get beyond it. We're not quite there yet. We are resilient in Aroostook County. We can do this. We just have to buckle down. It's not time to let it go yet. Stick to it. Do the right things. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. And if possible, and if you're so inclined to, we encourage you to take advantage of the vaccination opportunities that we have here.
Jamie Chandler.
Absolutely. So I would also add to that if you have questions or concerns about the vaccine, to reach out to any of the agencies that are here, and we can certainly help to give you accurate information about the safety of the vaccinations, and certainly encourage any and all to take advantage of the many locations and vaccination opportunities that we do have in Aroostook County. And then just another reminder that if you are needing to isolate or quarantine or needing any other supports around COVID-19, please do not hesitate to call the ACAP office, and we can get you connected to either services that we provide or services that are available within the community.
Great. And the last word from the public health perspective is yours, Stacey Boucher.
Perhaps as a function of having spent so much time with Darren in the past year and a half, I was kind of going to go toward vaccine fatigue or COVID fatigue as well, and just call attention to a few statistics. As of today, there are currently still 123 people in the hospital, of which 50 are in the intensive care unit and 22 are on a ventilator. Yesterday, there were only 18. So that's 4 more people on a ventilator, 2 more in the ICU, and roughly the same amount hospitalized. So as hopeful as I hope people feel, because that's one of the things that's going to get us through this, we're not quite there yet. And so we need people to really consider vaccine and vaccination thoroughly, because we have done phenomenal work, not us personally, but our vaccinators, our hospital partners have done phenomenal works. 79% of Aroostook County folks aged 70 to 79 are vaccinated. 77.77% are fully vaccinated in the 80 plus category. However, 22% in the 30 to 39 are, 17% in the 20 to 29. So we still have work to do as a population to protect each other and to get to that point where it is safe to be able to go to sporting events and cheer our kids on again, or just be able to feel free to congregate with one another without, the pressure of having to worry about whether or not we're infecting our friends and neighbors. And so we're almost there, but we're not quite. There's still work to do.
So vigilance and get that vaccine, folks. Stacey Boucher, Jamie Chandler, Darren Woods, thank you so much for being a guest today on ACAP Today. Before we leave, folks, we want to remind you, as Jamie did, that if you do need anything, if your family or you're an individual in need of assistance, please do contact us. We have ACAP navigators that are available to help if it's related to COVID-19 and you've been asked to quarantine or to isolate. The quarantine social support service is available as well. But if you're experiencing economic hardship during this time, or if you're a renter and need rental assistance, or just don't know what it is that you need, but know that you are in need of assistance at this point, give us a call again, 764-3721. And as we do each week, we leave you with our snapshot of the week. This is a sure sign of spring, folks. This is our HEAP intake specialist, April Gardner and Norma Violet, who are probably displaying their empty shelves. That means that all of the Home Energy Assistance Program files for the season have been processed through. We still are taking HEAP appointments though, so if you are in need of heating assistance, please do give us a call. That's just an indication right there that it should be a relatively quick appointment scheduling time and hopefully a quick turnaround on the certification. Thank you to our entire HEAP team. It was a great season. They did a heck of a lot of work and are done in good stead, so thank you to them. And so with that, along with Darren, Jamie, and Stacey, I'm Jason Parent. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for joining us.